Can you hear me, first of all? Yeah, thanks. Okay, thank you very much. I apologize if I joined last minute, so I could not really follow the workshop so far. I hope everything went well, and thank you also for the nice introduction. So here I'm supposed to tell you something about this mutual learning exercise that we ran over the last year on national policies for AI in science. So I have prepared a few slides just to give you a bit of context. So I suppose I can share the screen, right?
That should be possible, yes.
Let's see, and you tell me what you see.
I see the screen.
You see the screen, perfect.
I hope that live participants
Exactly.
in person
But
also see.
I think perfect. Okay, I mean, I think I don't need to tell you that AI in science is a very hot topic today. I mean, AI in science in our vocabulary means the application of AI to science. And again, this is a broad thing. I mean, it covers everything from the single scientist using traditional AI, ML techniques, deep learning, and LLMs and foundation models, to at the other extreme of the spectrum, fully autonomous systems that can conduct research on their own. I mean, really automate the entire research pipeline. And as you know, and I think you have been discussing this since this morning, AI has many promises, can accelerate the pace of scientific discovery, and in a way or another revolutionize how we uncover and use new knowledge, right? Now, what happens from a policy point of view is that AI is gaining a lot of importance in the policy circles. In Europe, of course, you might have noticed the Ursula von der Leyen mission letter that clearly emphasized the need to set up policies and a policy framework to regulate the integration of AI in science. Similar initiatives are occurring worldwide. The recent update for the AI R&D development plan in the US, similarly in China with the next generation plan. I mean, almost any country worldwide is placing a lot of emphasis and importance into this topic. Now, in Europe, it's not surprising. I mean, AI in science is prominently positioned within the political agenda. And we see these, there are two main kind of strategies that the European Union is undertaking. One is the development of a dedicated European AI strategy for science. And what you might not know is that next few months, the European Union will launch a AI Research Council, which will be responsible indeed to implement this strategy. So, I mean, in this context, the European Commission last year set up this mutual learning exercise, MLE, that essentially aim at informing this work. So how we can set up a strategy specifically tailored for AI in science, how we can adapt the national policies to the strategies, and how countries can respond based on the stage of development, because as a matter of fact, countries the different stages of AI adoption into the scientific system. So the mutual learning exercise, for those who are not familiar, because I suppose not of you are familiar with this process, is a process that was initiated under the Horizon Europe Policy Support Facility. And in this specific case, brought together 11 participating countries that you see listed in this slide. So we were 11 participating countries, experts, the idea is that this MLE is a process that facilitates the exchange of information, experiences, lessons learned. And the idea is that through kind of interacting meetings, either online and face-to-face, we can identify good practices and share expertise and learn from each other. That's actually the idea and the spirit behind this type of events. Now, this process focus on, as you see, policies and national policies for AI in science. And the European Commission set three main themes, three main priorities that you see listed here. Framework, conditions, and funding, AI infrastructure for science, and talent for AI in science. And then for each topic, the 11 participating countries and different experts, there were 3 experts for each topic, 1 rapporteur was me, and in different representatives from countries. And we had, as I said, 3 country visits. So we really met face-to-face in Brussels, in Pisa, and then in Oslo. Well, not necessarily in the same order, but we met 3 times face-to-face, many times virtually, and again to share and discuss and learn from each other. Now, at the end of the day, the objective was pretty straightforward. So the objective was to end up with a set of policy recommendations for national policymakers and research organizations. And the type of policies and interventions that we examined and discussed, by the way, there are online already available the different thematic reports for the 3 topics I mentioned, and we're finalizing right now. I mean, we have a meeting in the afternoon, the final report of this Ubuntu learning exercise that will pull together the main insights of this process. But the policies and intervention that we examined during the MLE process were discussed at 2 levels, a national level and institutional level. So the idea was to set up a sort of a menu of policy recommendation that can be implemented at the country level. So implementation of AI strategy, funding program, research infrastructure, and another set of policy recommendations that might be adopted by university, research center, local funding agencies, so more in institutional level kind of thing. Of course, I mean, policies at different levels do not compete, but kind of reinforce with each other. So we discuss policies at institutional level that can gain to some extent some traction only if they are supported by policy at the national level and the other way around. And always with the participating countries and the other experts, the idea was also to recognize and to try to find the role that the EU could and should play as a strategic coordinator. So not only we propose policies, but we always try to advise and to bring some insights into how the EU can set common goals, promote strategies across member states, support kind of cross-border initiatives, provide programs, funding programs, and so on and so forth. So the second kind of exercise we carry out, and then I'll give you also an idea of these policy recommendations, but the second type of exercise that we carried out was to adapt and tailor this policy package and policy recommendations depending on the stage of AI development and adoption of science of countries, of member states, and and participating countries in the MLE process. Because as a matter of fact, if you look at statistics, and I won't have time to show you statistics, but these are in the final reports and in different thematic reports, countries are at different stages of AI adoption and integration in the scientific pipeline. Here you see just a screenshot of a table of a figure that is described in the report, where we taxonomize countries depending on the integration of AI in science. There are countries where AI is really at the early stages. AI adoption is the early stages. They're still experimenting. There are countries who are already scaling up research and infrastructure for AI in science. There are countries indeed that are kind of they have already a strong ecosystem and they're really aiming to global leadership. So here again, what we did during the MLE process was to, as I said, define and refine the policy recommendations depending on these different stages of maturity. And this is based on the capabilities and also the strategic priorities of countries. Now, to be more precise, so I'll try to be quick, but I wanted to show you the type of outcome that we end up with. So for each topic, so framework conditions and funding for AI and science, infrastructure and talent, remind these three main thematic areas. The first objective, the first goal was to identify what are the key challenges. So again, together with with participating countries and my colleagues, the other experts, and the European Commission, we really discuss in depth topics like enablers and barriers to AI adoptions, what can hinder, what can foster AI adoption by scientists. We also discuss in depth the different funding mechanism and the current landscape of funding mechanism in different countries and the European level, and also the frameworks that exist today when it comes to responsible use of AI in science. As you see here on the left, I will not go through one by one, but we could identify indeed many challenges for each of these macro topics. For instance, there were challenges related to large-scale adoption of AI in science linked to talent gap, linked to the lack of vision of what AI can bring to scientists, problems related to the fragmentation of the funding system. And then again, one by one, and I don't want to bother you with all these details, but we could identify many challenges that were kind of the entry point to then set up and develop this menu of recommendations. And you might think of the same process, but also for the other areas. So here you see, for example, the key challenges for infrastructure for AI in science. So in the second macro topic, we discuss, as you see here on the right, the role of infrastructure, so technical infrastructures, including computing resources, data access, storage, connectivity, security, scalability, all these notions of ethical compliance, cost management, but also topics and issues related, for example, to standardization and interoperability of AI infrastructure, data and for example, high-performance computing infrastructure. And then we also discuss some sort of, let's say, frontier research. So everything that moves from that goes from foundation models in science to, as I said before, this notion of automation of science, so the AI scientist, robot scientist. And here again, as you see on the left, for each subtopic, the MLE, together with participating countries and my colleagues, we could end up with a set of challenges, key challenges when it comes to infrastructure for AI in science. And these challenges, again, are very heterogeneous, ranges from disparity of computational resources across member states to industry dominance when it comes to computing power. We could identify some problems related to the interoperability between data infrastructure and so on and so forth. And the third macro topic, as I told you at the beginning, was talent for AI in science. And here we cover topics like those you see here, so availability, mobility, and training of AI skilled researchers, interdisciplinary AI research, the career path of scientists who are now at the kind of intersection between core AI and application domain. And last but not least, also issues related to the diversity and inclusion in AI research and AI in science more broadly. And here again, you see some key challenges related to attraction and retention of talent, how we can set up training program, educational program, how we can upskill and reskill the existing scientific labor force. And as a third point, you see the role and the importance of interdisciplinary research. So for each of these, you see here the MLE process that, as I said, will end in July now, in a couple of months. We will have a dissemination event in Brussels and the final report coming out very soon. And the kind of policy prescription, policy recommendation we ended up with will look like those that you see here. Yeah, I see a time, meaning that I'm running out of time as usual, but I'm basically done. The type of outcome is something which looks like this. So for each topic, we develop a policy menu for policymakers, as you see here, for research organizations. All those policies are linked to the challenges that I mentioned earlier. And you might think of this policy menu structured by macro area and subtopics. So you have this funding and framework condition for AI in science, and then you have a set of policies for policymakers and research organization at the infrastructure level and the talent level. And for all of this, together with the participating countries and the other experts, we always emphasize the importance of the EU. So that's something very important because, as I said, the role of the EU is really to set this global vision of AI on science and AI in science. And so all along the discussion, all along the process, we try to understand how the EU could contribute indeed to the implementation of these national policies. And that's how I think I will close with this slide, which summarize to some extent the framework for AI in science policies. And as I said, this broad framework should of course have some framework conditions in general, which have to do with funding, where we suggest a balanced portfolio combining strategic investment and bottom-up experimentation. A research governance with focus on the ethical challenges for responsible innovation. We embrace open science principles. There is a research culture which should value interdisciplinarity. And as I said, there are some areas for policy interventions related to compute, to data, to talent, and to funding. And that's actually the overall framework that will guide the policy implementations. And again, Tanya, sorry a lot
Thank
for
you.
running out of time, but I think I can stop
Thank
here.
you, Stefano. That was really very interesting. And sorry that we had to remind about the time, but we have
No, I mean, it's
other
your job.
speakers. Sabri, you are on the spot. If there's a burning question, I do not see the audience, but if there's a burning question, we can take it now. Otherwise, we maybe leave the questions for the panel session. Stefano, will you be there for the panel session?
Yes. I have a meeting, by the way, on the MLE at 2 p.m. if I'm not wrong. But
yeah, so no, we should be
I'll stay with
then.
you for a while.
Yes, perfect.
So we'll take the questions during the panel discussion.